Unbeatable fate. Village girl saves woman at midnight. Never knew she's a billionaire. SMOM. The clock struck midnight, a chilling sound that echoed through the empty streets of the small village. Shadows danced under the flickering streetlights, creating an eerie atmosphere that made the heart race. This was no ordinary night. The tension hung thick in the air, as if the universe knew that something monumental was about to unfold. Suddenly, a scream cut through the silence. It shattered the calm like glass breaking. The villagers, snug in their beds, missed the commotion happening just at the edge of town. But not Clara, a young girl with dreams bigger than the village itself. She was out gathering herbs for her sick grandmother when she stumbled upon a dyer, seeing a woman in trouble, struggling against an unseen assailant in a dark alley. Clara's heart raced, her chest tightening. She couldn't just stand there. Without thinking, she dashed forward, her wild hair flying in the wind like flames. The woman gasped as Clara yelled, a fierce battle cry filled with urgency. The attacker turned, eyes wide with surprise, and for a split second, Clara saw the face of a monster. It sent shivers down her spine, but she didn't falter. Adrenaline surged through her veins, giving her strength she never knew she had. In a twist of fate, just as Clara lunged to intervene, the assailant vanished into the shadows, as if swallowed by the darkness itself. The danger disappeared, but the woman lay there, trembling. Clara knelt beside her, heart pounding. Then the woman's eyes met hers, filled with tears and gratitude. Little did Clara know, that woman was no ordinary traveler. She was a billionaire, lost and alone, the secrets of the world hidden behind her flawless smile. Why were you out here? Clara whispered, trying to catch her breath. The woman's smile was faint, but it was there a flicker of hope in her eyes. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the moonlight illuminated their faces, Clara sensed the heavy weight of destiny settling between them. Who was this woman? And what secrets lay beneath her smile? The world felt smaller, a tangled web of connections waiting to unravel. Clara's heart thumped in her chest. Something told her this was just the beginning. The night wasn't over, and the true danger may still linger in the shadows. What if Clara had just saved someone representing a whole different life, one that could change everything she ever dreamed of? A flicker of movement caught Clara's eye as she helped the trembling woman to her feet. The alley felt suffocating, the shadows swallowing them whole. Goosebumps prickled on her arms, a sudden chill racing through the air. The danger that had slinked away was still very much alive, lurking nearby. Please, the woman said, her voice trembling like the leaves of a whispering tree. We need to get somewhere safe. Clara nodded, confusion swirling in her mind. Safe from what? She took the woman's arm, ready to lead her back into the heart of the village, to the lights and warmth she had known her whole life. But with each step, doubt gnawed at her. The alley seemed to stretch endlessly before them, shadows creeping closer. Who were you running from? Clara asked, her voice barely above a whisper, fear threading through her words. The woman hesitated, her eyes darting back to the darkness wrapping around them. They're after me. I've stolen something they want back. A breath caught in Clara's throat. Stolen? The ground under her feet felt unstable, as if it too was unsure of what lay ahead. What did you steal? The woman's gaze met Clara's, a mix of desperation and vulnerability shining through the sheen of fear. Something powerful, she said, something that could change lives. I can't let them have it. Clara's heart raced, twisting in her chest. What kind of power could this stranger possess? She felt the weight of the night pressing down, amplifying her instincts to protect this enigmatic woman, no matter the cost. They hurried past the alley's exit and into a less traveled street. Suddenly, a loud thud echoed behind them, a violent rustle in the shadows. The night's stillness shattered as a figure emerged, a silhouette dark and menacing. Clara froze, adrenaline pooling in her stomach. "Keep moving," the woman urged, her face pale but determined. They broke into a run, Clara's mind racing. Her previous worries about gathering herbs evaporated, replaced by the raw urgency of survival. They dashed around the corner, hearts pounding in synchronized terror, but the figure was relentless, the sound of footsteps loud and close. Clara glanced back in fear, and for the briefest moment, she caught the glimmer of something sharp, a knife. "Go to the house down the street," the woman urged, pointing to a dimly lit building. Clara followed, breathing heavily, feeling the hot breath of danger on her heels. They barreled through the door, slamming it shut behind them. The woman quickly leaned against it, her chest heaving. Clara's heart drummed in her ears. "What now?" she breathed, panic flashing in her eyes. "Now," the woman said, sliding to the floor. "We wait. But we can't hide here for long." Clara shook her head, disbelief clawing at her mind. There was more to this woman than met the eye. "What do you mean? Why would they want you?" Her chest tightened as the weight of the words settled. They were both trapped now, strangers caught in a deadly game, and with every tick of the clock, the danger grew sharper. Then, as if summoned by their fear, the door trembled under a force from the outside. Clara's breath hitched, fingers gripping the edge of the nearby counter. Would they make it through this night alive? Just as a voice whispered from the other side, piercing through the tension, Clara stared at the woman. "Who are you really?" But the answer hung in the air, thick and heavy, unanswered, as the ominous sound of the door wrenching open filled the room with dread. What awaited them on the other side could change Clara's life forever. The door creaked ominously as it swung open, revealing a shadowy figure shrouded in darkness. Clara's heart skipped violently, fear twisting inside her gut. All at once, the fear she had felt just moments ago erupted into a blast of adrenaline. "Stay behind me," she whispered fiercely to the woman, who still leaned against the wall, wide-eyed and trembling. The figure stepped into the room, a silhouette barely illuminated by the faint light from the street. Clara could make out a malevolent smile, the glint of a knife reflecting the soft light that peeked through. "Where is it?" the man demanded, his voice cold and sharp, slicing through the chaos in Clara's mind. "I know you have it. What are you talking about?" Clara challenged, her voice stronger than she felt. She had no idea what they were after. The woman beside her was all she could think about. The intruder's eyes flickered, narrowing as they shifted to the woman. "You think you could outsmart me? You're not safe. No one is safe." He took a step forward, and Clara's breath hitched. "I want to let you touch her," she shouted, taking a step forward, fueled by a sudden surge of protectiveness. Clara felt her heartbeat echoing in her ears. In that moment, she wasn't just defending a stranger. She was fighting for her own hope. "Foolish," the man chuckled, as if her bravery was laughable. "You don't understand the danger you're in," Clara, the woman whispered, her voice trembling. With that one word, something shifted. The man's gaze flickered back to the woman, a flicker of annoyance crossing his face. "You dare! Get away from her!" Clara screamed, lunging forward as she grabbed a shattered piece of wood from the floor. The man barely flinched, snatching Clara's arm with a bone-crushing grip, a cruel smile dancing on his lips. "Such fire! But you have no idea what you're dealing with." Suddenly, the sound of footsteps echoed outside, heavy and deliberate. Were they here for the woman? Clara's heart raced as a swirl of emotions crashed over her. Fear, anger, desperation. They were running out of time. "Don't you let him intimidate you," the woman urged, her voice steadier now as she rose to her feet with newfound resolve. The intruder's grip loosened just enough to allow Clara to slip free. It was the break she needed. What do you want from her? Clara demanded, determination flooding her voice. Everything she has. His gaze was predatory, circling back to the woman in a way that made Clara's skin crawl. She stole something from my employer, something worth far more than you can imagine. The company is built on that power, and sudden gunshots rang out, deafening and close. The sound shattered the tension in the room. Clara's heart raced as she glanced at the door. The pounding of footsteps shifted from outside to distant echoes, possibly a response to the chaos now escalating. Clara, we need to go, the woman shouted, panic returning to her voice. Before Clara could reply, a crash from the other side of the door sent her flying backward, adrenaline kicking into overdrive. What awaited them outside could mean freedom or worse peril. Was there a way out of this nightmare? As the door shuttered again, Clara felt the weight of choices crushing down on her. Now, the woman shouted as they hurried toward the back of the building. Would they escape the chaos? Or had they walked straight into a trap that would seal both their fates? Uncertainty loomed right at their heels, urging them to move faster, to break free from the chains of this terrifying night. The hallway felt impossibly tight as Clara and the woman sprinted towards the back exit. Each echoing footstep reverberated like a countdown, pushing them further into panic. Clara's chest burned, each breath a forced effort fueled by sheer desperation. What are they running from? The weight of her new reality pressed down hard. Clara, hurry! The woman urged, a hint of authority in her voice. It felt strange to hear it, as if the timid figure beside her had transformed into a lioness, ready to fight for her young. Behind them, the sounds grew louder, shouting, a collision of bodies. Clara could practically feel the tension in the air, thick and electric. She glanced back, dread clawing at her heart. Stop! A voice boomed from within the room, tense and furious. The intruder was on their trail, and with every second that passed, their chances of escape dwindled. The back door loomed before them, a beacon against the chaos. Clara pulled at the handle, her hands shaking, and it turned. Relief flooded through her, but it was short-lived. She pushed the door open, the hinges creaking like a wounded animal. Go, she urged, shoving the woman through the threshold. They burst into the night, the cool air hitting Clara like a splash of icy water. They were free and yet still in danger. Beyond the dim glow of the streetlights, shadows danced along the pavement, whispering promises of sanctuary and safety. But uncertainty clung to them like fog, thick and suffocating. Clara's instincts screamed at her to keep moving. Where do we go? She panted, glancing back as she felt a renewed surge of urgency. They needed a plan, somewhere to hide. The woman hesitated, her face lit momentarily by the flickering light. We can't let him catch us. I have a place. Her voice was now steady, strong. Clara nodded, adrenaline coursing through her veins. Lead the way. They took off down the empty street, instinctively seeking shadows while avoiding the light. Clara's mind spun, each step pulling her deeper away from the chaos they had escaped. What did this man want? She asked, desperate for any answers. The woman pressed her lips together before speaking. I can explain later. Fear and resolve warred in her eyes, creating a palpable tension. Just ahead, they spotted an alleyway that looked like a potential hiding place. Clara pointed. In there, as they ducked into the narrow opening, a sudden crash echoed from the street behind them. Clara's heart thudded violently. It was like the world was collapsing around them. The sounds grew softer, further away, but she knew they weren't safe yet. Why would someone want to hurt you? Clara pressed, taking a moment to catch her breath. You have to let me know what we're dealing with. The woman took a deep breath, her eyes widening with realization. I was just a stranger, Clara. I'm not who I seem. Then who are you? Clara asked, trying to keep her voice steady as dread pulled inside. Before the woman could answer, a flash of light swept through the alleyway, illuminating their faces. Heavy footsteps echoed down the street, closing in. They were not alone. Hide! Clara hissed, pushing the woman behind a stack of boxes. Fear gripped her stomach as she realized they were mere moments away from being discovered. Breath trembling, Clara pressed against the wall. She could feel the cool stone against her skin, a stark reminder of their vulnerability. The footsteps grew louder, then stopped. Clara held her breath, dread filling the air as she strained to hear. She would do anything to keep the woman safe, but how were they going to escape this? Suddenly, the tension broke with a voice that sent chills down her spine. "I see you." The threat hung in the air like a loaded gun, and Clara's heart raced at the sound, dread clawing at her insides. What would happen next? Would they find them? The answer loomed, heavy and uncertain, but one thing was clear. Their fate was about to unfold in a sinister way. The darkness swallowed them whole as the footsteps echoed closer, a menacing heartbeat in the night. Clara could barely think, her mind spinning, every thought drowning in fear. The woman beside her had gone quiet, dread barely concealed behind her wide eyes. She leaned in, her breath rapid and shallow, the moment stretching like an elastic band ready to snap. "What do we do?" Clara whispered, urgency squeezing her throat. She risked a glance toward the alley entrance, her heart pounding like a war drum. If they were discovered here, it would all be over. The weight of their predicament pressed heavy. The woman's secret loomed large, an invisible barrier between them and safety. Suddenly, the murmur of voices broke through the tension, harsh and sharp. "I know you're back here. Come out, and I promise it will be quicker this way." The threat lingered like poison in the air, the figure bearing down on their hiding spot. Clara's pulse quickened as she scanned the nearby trash bins, her mind racing through possibilities. "Do you have anything?" she implored, desperate. So close to being caught, every second felt like an eternity. The woman's voice barely registered above a whisper. "Just my phone, I can call for help." She fumbled in her pocket, but Clara shook her head. "Not yet. It will be too easy for him to trace, find me." A sudden crash echoed from the entrance of the alley, and Clara's heart leaped. The intruder had thrown something, whatever it was. It sounded heavy. She clenched her fists, not wanting to scream, not wanting to give them away. The voice had shifted, taken on a low, predatory tone. "Come out, little mice." Clara's body tightened. This was just a game. It was a hunt. Every instinct screamed for her to bolt. But where? The narrow alley seemed to constrict around them, a prison of brick and shadows. "Listen," the woman said, urgency rising in her voice. "I need you to trust me. My name is not just woman, I'm Sarah. Sarah Breckenridge. And this man, he has been after me for years. I got swept up into something I thought was harmless, but it blew up. You have to believe me." "Breckenridge?" Clara's gaze flickered towards Sarah. She recognized the name from magazine articles, luxury galas, and some tabloids. "Billionaire's mom. But how could this be?" "Trust me," Sarah hissed, her eyes pleading. "I can explain later. Right now, we need to get out of here." Before she could respond, the voice from the entrance called again, closer this time. "I'm losing my patience. I will find you." The sound of footsteps grew more distinct, and Clara's mind went into overdrive. She had to act, had to make a decision. "Can you climb?" she asked, scanning the alley walls for anything to help them escape. "Climb?" Sarah echoed, disbelief coloring her tone. "Where?" "Up there. We can scale these boxes, maybe find a way to the rooftop." Clara pointed, hope flaring briefly. It was a desperate plan, but she had no other choice. Just then, another crash rang out, followed by a voice that dripped with veiled menace. "Two can hide, but only one will get out. I'll find both of you soon enough." The reality of their situation rushed over Clara like ice water. They couldn't stay hidden. The game had shifted into something deadly. "Now, Sarah," Clara urged, barely aware of what she was asking until Sarah's body surged into motion beside her. She lunged toward the boxes, the adrenaline driving her forward as they scrambled to gain height, every second stretching into infinity under the threat looming behind them. They hoisted themselves onto the top, gasping for breath. The world beneath them felt both terrifying and liberating, but what awaited them on the other side? "All right, keep low," Clara whispered, her heart thudding as she peered over the edge, scanning the street. Suddenly, a sound caught her attention, a creaking, familiar sound. She turned to Sarah, fear creeping in. "Did you hear that?" Before Sarah could reply, something crashed against the alley wall, a flash of light illuminating a face filled with rage. "I know you're up there." The chase wasn't over yet, and the hunt was only just beginning. Would they escape? Clara felt the weight of the moment pressing in once again, each heartbeat echoing in the heavy silence that followed. Then, another sound filled the night, a stirring in the shadows, an unexpected ally entering the fray. What lay waiting in the dark? Clara held her breath, every muscle in her body tensed as she scanned the darkness below. The flicker of light intensified, revealing a figure hunched in the shadows. It was tall, menacing, and every bit of her instincts screamed danger. Who was it? What waited to pounce? A rat scurried past frantically, but Clara barely noticed. Her focus narrowed on Sarah, whose eyes mirrored the fright spiraling in her chest. "What do we do?" Sarah whispered, trembling slightly as she glanced at the alley exit. Before Clara could answer, the voice from below hissed again, laced with promise and threat. "I know who you are, Sarah. Come down, and I can make it quick, or you can wait until I come up for you." Clara's mind raced. This bloodthirsty predator below was not just a man. He was a monster, the kind that didn't let go once he got a taste. She needed a plan, and fast. "What if we jump?" Clara suggested suddenly, her mind racing between decisions like a trapped animal searching for freedom. "There's a dumpster down there. If we land right, we might escape." Sarah's eyes widened in shock. "Are you insane? We'd be lucky to walk away from that. We might break something. We can't stay here." Clara shot back, the urgency clawing at her. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was turning into a nightmare that threatened to swallow them both whole. With every word exchanged, the heavy atmosphere filled with the menace creeping closer beneath them. Clara glanced down again, straining to see clearly. She spotted movement. Someone was crouching, scanning the night, searching for them. He wasn't just angry. He was calculating. Then the unexpected ally came forth, creeping from the other end of the alley. It was a girl, barely older than Clara, her dark hair falling over one muddy shoulder. She glanced between the two women and the lurking predator. Clara's heart flickered. Could this girl help? "Stay down," the girl hissed, urgency overtaking her tone as she pressed her back against the wall. To Clara's shock, she unlocked something from her pocket, a small, gleaming knife that caught the remaining light lingering in the alley. "Please tell me you know what you're doing," Sarah whispered, the strain evident in her voice. The girl nodded sharply, her eyes reflecting fierce determination. "I know this man Darius. He is ruthless, and he will find you. We can't wait for him to make the move. We need to draw him out," she said with confidence that rooted Clara to the spot. Clara swallowed hard, biting back her fear. "And how do we do that?" The girl brandished the knife, her resolve unwavering. "I distract him. You two find a way down and get to the street. I'll hold him here as long as I can. What if he gets to you first?" Sarah's voice trembled with worry. "Don't worry," she flicked her head towards the darkness. "He won't expected. Trust me." Clara felt her heart racing. The stakes had just escalated. The fear behind her eyes shot the girl a silent plea, as if to say, "Please don't take this risk." But the girl didn't wait for more discussion. With a deep breath, she sprinted towards the edge of the alley, the knife glinting in her hand like a beacon. Clara and Sarah exchanged panicked glances, the urgency flooding back. "Now!" Clara urged, moving towards the edge, her heart pounding with the adrenaline of impending action. But at that moment, a shout pierced the silence, drowning out all rational thought. "You think you can run? You think you can hide from me?" The voice roared, raw and tinged with malice. The sound echoed against the bricks, reverberating through the alley, shaking Clara to her very core. Clara's heart raced as shadows loomed, a showdown brewing in the alley below. But they couldn't wait. They had to act. Which path would they choose? "Go, go, go!" Clara yelled, pushing them both forward, adrenaline surging as the chase reached a fever pitch. Just then, a crash echoed again, this time accompanied by the unmistakable clang of metal against metal. The fight had begun, and who would emerge unscathed was uncertain. Would they leap into the unknown or fall, victim to the chaos unfolding below? Time slipped like sand through their fingers. As Clara propelled them toward the edge, a chilling thought struck her like lightning. Would that girl face Darius alone? And what awaited them further down the path? Clara's heart raced as she and Sarah approached the edge. The clashing of metal resonated in the dark, a distinct sound that sent chills down her spine. She dared another glance over the edge. The girl was locked in a tense standoff with Darius, the flickering streetlight casting strange shadows over their figures. "Come on," Clara urged, and with a resolute push, they both jumped off the ledge. Air rushed past Clara as she fell, her stomach churning. They landed hard on the dumpster, the metallic surface jarring her bones. Sarah let out a small grunt as she rolled off and hit the ground. Clara scrambled to her feet, the adrenaline pumping through her veins like wildfire. "Do we make it?" Sarah asked, her voice a mix of relief and disbelief, brushing dirt from her clothes. "Not yet," Clara replied, looking back into the darkness of the alley. Darius's furious shout cut through the night again. "You think you can protect them?" His voice boomed, echoing ominously. Clara's thoughts raced. They needed to move, but the instinct to look back to see if their brave ally was safe rooted her to the spot. The girl was still fighting, her knife glinting as she lunged toward Darius. Clara's pulse quickened with each swing. The girl was fearless, but would it be enough? The thought felt like daggers in her chest. "Clara," Sarah's voice broke through her haze. "We can't just stand here, right?" They had to go. As much as the thought of leaving the girl behind twisted her stomach, staying was just as dangerous. "Let's south head to the street," Clara said, forcing her legs to carry her. They stumbled down the alley, the shadows swallowing them as they navigated through debris and trash. Each sound behind them was a haunting reminder of the chaos they didn't leave behind. "We have to find help," Sarah gasped, but Clara felt a flicker of hope dimming. What if help didn't arrive in time? What if that girl? They reached the alley exit, but in that moment, a sick sense of dread washed over Clara. Her eyes caught movement in the darkness. A figure was emerging. It was Darius, much faster than she had anticipated. "Run," she shouted, shoving Sarah ahead of her. They burst onto the street. The cool night air hit them like a slap, but their breaths came in short, panicked gasps. Clara scanned their surroundings. They were in a deserted area, benign streetlights flickering ominously ahead. Panic surged within her, a fierce, wild thing thrumming with urgency. A shriek pierced the quiet night. "Help!" No, it was the girl's voice. Clara froze, fear prickling at every nerve. She couldn't just leave her, could she? "Clara," Sarah cried, pulling her towards safety. "We have to go." At that moment, everything inside Clara screamed to run. But the thought of abandoning the girl filled her with guilt. "No," she yelled, breaking free from Sarah's grip. "I can't just leave her. What if it gets to you too?" That question sliced through Clara's resolve, a cruel reminder of the stakes. The darkness behind them could be a graveyard for hopes and dreams, and she could feel it tightening around her with every passing second. Just then, Darius emerged from the shadows, a predatory smile twisted on his lips. "Running away, are we?" How quaint! Clara's heart slammed against her chest as she steadied her breath. Would she face him? "Clara!" Sarah's panicked tone yanked her back. The choice hung heavy in the air. Stay to fight or run to survive. And the darkness was alive, threatening to consume them all. She longed to rescue that girl, but every heartbeat urged her to escape. But what awaited her in the night's depths, whatever lay ahead, might just be more terrifying than Darius. Time was slipping away, and Clara could feel the jaws of fate closing in around her. Would she follow Sarah and leave her fate in the hands of the night, or choose the path of a hero that might cost her everything? With dread pooling like stone in her gut, she had to decide now. Would bravery or cowardice shape the next moment of terror? Clara's mind raced, torn between instinct and desperation. Either choice would seal her fate. The moon hung high, casting an eerie glow, illuminating Darius's menacing figure. His smile widened as if he reveled in the chaos. "Choose, Clara," he taunted, taking a menacing step forward. Will you save your friend, or let her meet her end? Clara's heart sank at the thought of leaving anyone behind, especially now that time was ticking away like a countdown. The more she hesitated, the more Darius seemed to swell with confidence. His dark presence loomed larger, threatening to engulf them all. "Clara!" Sarah shouted, urgency laced in her voice. "We have to go now." That plea ripped through Clara, igniting a spark of resolve. The girl was fighting for her life while they stood paralyzed. They couldn't just run. That would haunt her forever. "Go, Sarah!" Clara finally shouted, her voice shaky but firm. "Get help. I'm going back." Sarah's eyes widened in disbelief. "No, you can't. Darius, just go." Clara insisted, shoving her friend's shoulders. With a final frightened look, Sarah sprinted into the night, disappearing down the street. Alone now, Clara turned to face Darius, her pulse pounding in her ears. "Ah, the brave little rabbit decides to fight the wolf," Darius sneered, his eyes narrowing. "How noble of you." The alley echoed with clattering trash and flickering lights, but Clara's focus narrowed on the struggle ahead. She followed the sounds, the girl's knife slashing through the air, metal clanging against metal, and plunged back into the darkness. Heart pounding, Clara pushed through the shadows, stalking toward the chaotic scene. Glimpses of the girl in combat flashed before her eyes. She was nimble, relentless, but Darius was formidable, each blow he parried fueling his menacing charisma. "Hey!" Clara yelled, her voice fierce, hoping to distract Darius long enough. His head snapped toward her, surprise surfacing momentarily before he chuckled darkly. "You really should have run." The girl hadn't noticed yet. She was too focused on Darius. Clara sidled closer, the smell of rust and danger filling her nose. She felt the weight of the world on her shoulders. One misstep could cost them everything. "Watch out!" Clara shouted as Darius lunged forward with deadly intent. In that split second, the girl pivoted, barely evading the attack. Clara felt a rush of urgency swell within her chest. She couldn't just stand by. She had to act. Gritting her teeth, Clara grabbed a discarded metal bar behind her, the coolness of the metal grounding her in the moment. "Turn!" Clara barked, and in response, the girl sidestepped and faced Clara, surprise etching her features. "Who are you?" the girl shouted, eyes darting between Clara and Darius. "Not important. We need to fight him together." Fueled by newfound strength, Clara charged at Darius, swinging the bar with all her might. The metal connected with a loud crack against his shoulder, stunning him for just a heartbeat. But as he stumbled back, fury ignited in his gaze. The predator had been wounded, and the scent of blood would only provoke him further. "Fools!" he roared, wiping his shoulder as if brushing dirt away. "You think this changes anything?" Clara and the girl exchanged a determined glance. They were outnumbered, but their spirits were unyielding. The air crackled with tension as Darius squared his shoulders, a wild glimmer sparking in his eyes. "Let us see how well you do in the dark." Suddenly, darkness suffocated. The alley lights flickered and dimmed, plunging them into shadows. Clara felt her heart stutter, panic creeping back in. "Stick together," Clara shouted, her voice strained against the growing fear. With chaos swirling around them, they prepared for the storm. But as Darius vanished into the inky black, they could almost hear the laughter echoing in the void. He was toying with them, and they were dangerously close to losing the battle. Clara's breath quickened. She didn't know what awaited them in this suffocating blackness. What could Darius be hiding? Together, they would have to face whatever horror. This night still held, but as dread settled in her gut, Clara couldn't shake the feeling that they had only glimpsed the beginning of Darius's dark plans. Clara's heart raced as the pitch black swallowed the alley. She tightened her grip on the metal bar, its coolness anchoring her as terror surged like a tidal wave. The silence felt oppressive, unnerving, every rustle echoing in the darkness like an impending doom. "Where's he?" Clara hissed, her voice barely above a whisper. The girl stood beside her, disbelief swimming in her wide eyes. "I don't know," she replied, fear all but coloring her voice. "Yes, he is playing with us." Clara swayed slightly. The absence of light felt alive, thick, and tangled like a spider's web, trapping them as prey. She could hear nothing but her own heartbeat, a constant thud urging her to act. "Stay close," Clara warned, desperation flaring within her. They had to move. She could feel the pressure building, an almost palpable dread curling in the air. A shift in the shadows caught her attention. There, where the darkness seemed to thicken like smoke. Clara squinted, trying to penetrate the abyss, her pulse fluttering wildly. Suddenly, a low rumble echoed through the alley. Darius's voice slithered through the air, deep and malicious. "Ah, isn't this thrilling?" A game of cat and mouse. Clara clenched her teeth. The thrill of the hunt was his, and she could sense his enjoyment. It sent icy chills down her spine. With one swift motion, she scanned for a source of light. They needed visibility to fight back. "Over there," Clara shouted, pointing toward a faint glow spilling out from a crack in a distant doorway. "We need to move." With a burst of adrenaline, she forged ahead, the girl falling in step behind her. They dashed through the dark, every shadow appearing to lunge at them. But just as they reached the doorway, it creaked open, revealing a figure cloaked in shadows and regret. Clara squeezed the metal bar, ready to swing. "Wait," the figure pleaded, but his voice dripped with skepticism. "Who are you?" Clara demanded, fear making her voice fiercer than she felt. "I'm here to help. I saw Darius." "He is not who you think he is," the mysterious man said, his eyes glimmering with a desperate urgency. "Help? Why should we trust you?" The girl stepped forward, lowering her knife slightly, but still ready. "Because he is coming for you both," he replied, stepping into the dim light. Clara's pulse quickened as she recognized him, one of Darius's former henchmen. "I know his weaknesses. I can guide you." Clara hesitated. Every fiber of her being screamed to remain on guard. She felt the weight of their mission pressing against her chest, a reminder that lives were at stake. Just then, a loud crash ripped through the alley. Brick and debris flew, followed by Darius's bellowing laughter that resonated in the encroaching darkness. "You think you can hide? I will find you. Go. We have to move," Clara urged, shoving the girl inside the door as she stepped out to confront their enemy. The man protested, but she was already focused on the looming danger. Darius emerged from the shadows, a monstrous silhouette against the flickering remnants of light. In an instant, the alley became an arena of chaos. Clara squared her shoulders, ready to face the storm. "Let us finish this," she shouted, brave words slipping from trembling lips. But just as Darius lunged, a blinding burst illuminated the alley as spotlight endeavoring to cut through the suffocating darkness. It froze them in their tracks, blinding light sweeping through the alley. Clara squinted, her breath caught in her throat, and then she heard a sound that froze the blood in her veins. The sound of sirens wailing in the distance. "Darius, this ends tonight." Clara's voice cut through the fog of uncertainty. But as the sirens grew louder, Clara's mind whirled. Was it salvation, or simply an escalation of chaos? Before she could grasp the implications, Darius's eyes burned with venomous intent, betrayal looming large. Clara braced herself for the inevitable clash. As uncertainty rattled around them, she couldn't help but wonder. Did the arrival of the sirens signify hope or horror? What awaited them in the wake of this new threat? The sirens blared, slicing through the night like a knife through butter. Darius paused, his features morphing into a mask of rage and disbelief. He hated losing control, and now, with the flashing lights approaching, he knew his time was running out. "Get them!" he roared, pointing a shaking finger toward Clara and the girl. Before Clara could react, Darius lunged at them, but Clara stood her ground, brandishing the metal bar with both hands. "Not this time," she shouted, adrenaline fueling her courage. The moment stretched as Darius launched himself forward. Clara swung wildly, connecting with his side. He grunted, staggering, but righted himself too quickly, eyes narrowing. Just as he prepared to retaliate, the door behind them flung wide open, spilling light into the alley. "Get back!" A booming voice shouted. Two police officers rushed in, shiny badges and determined faces breaking through the chaos. Darius's eyes widened. For a brief moment, doubt crept into his demeanor, and that was all the time Clara needed. "Run!" she yelled to the girl, who had frozen in shock. They tore down the alley, the sound of footsteps echoing behind them, their feet pounding against the pavement like drums of hope. Distant shouts followed, mingling with the strident wail of sirens, propelling them forward. Clara glanced back to see Darius retreat, his dark figure blending into the shadows, uncertainty flashing across his face. "Stay close," Clara called, her heart racing. They barreled through the streets towards the gathering light, where safety awaited. As they ran, Clara could feel the weight of the night lifting, each step paving the way for newfound freedom. They turned a corner, and ahead loomed a flickering streetlight. Below it, a cluster of people, bright with hope, awaited. "Over there!" Clara yelled, still gripping the metal bar in her hand. As they burst into the light, .2 officers spotted them, faces shifting from confusion to relief as they rushed forward. "Are you two okay?" one officer asked, concern etching his brow. "We're fine, but he's dangerous," Clara gasped, pointing back toward the alley, still shaking with adrenaline. The second officer stepped forward. "Stay here, we'll handle it. You're safe now." Just then, Clara spotted Sarah, her friend sprinting toward them, breathless. Relief flooded through Clara, followed by a hard squeeze in her gut. "You came back," Clara exclaimed. "I couldn't leave you," Sarah panted, her wide eyes full of concern. A few moments later, the sound of police radios growled to life. Officers moved swiftly, arms ready, shouting instructions. They would handle Darius. But as the adrenaline ebbed, Clara felt another wave of clarity wash over her. "Are you all right?" Sarah asked, placing a hand on Clara's shoulder, grounding her in the chaos. "I think so." Clara looked at the girl, who stood by them, still trembling but with a spark of gratitude lighting up her features. "What about you?" "I'm okay," she responded quietly, relief softening her features. "Thank you. I didn't know if I would make it out of there." Clara nodded. "You were amazing. We were brave together." Just then, a figure emerged from the darkness, holding his hands up. It was the man who had tried to help them earlier, his face weary but determined. "I can help you," he said, stepping forward as if to assure them of his intentions. "Darius, he has been after me too. I know how to stop him." Clara's heart ached at the thought of what they had just escaped. "But how?" The officer interrupted, reassuring Clara, "We'll handle him. But right now, you two need to tell us everything." As they shared their story, Clara felt the weight of the night begin to lift. Each word spoken, a piece of the darkness banished. "I'll make sure we protect you," another officer promised, pushing back the shadows that had threatened them all night. Relief filled Clara like sunlight breaking through clouds. Before long, the sirens faded into the distance, leaving behind a newfound sense of safety. Clara glanced at the girl beside her, feeling an extraordinary bond blossom. "I'm Clara," she said, extending her hand. "Sarah," the woman smiled back, stepping forward to clasp Clara's hand firmly. They would conquer whatever came next together, not only as women fighting for their lives, but as allies forged in the depths of terror. Stepping into tomorrow would be a challenge, but somehow Clara knew this was no end, only a beginning, a call to destiny ringing louder than ever before. And as Clara looked at Sarah and the girl, one final thought crossed her mind. Darkness was powerful, but so was hope. As the dawn began to paint the sky with colors of new beginnings, Clara whispered softly, "Whatever comes next, we face it together." Now that Clara and her friends had taken this incredible journey, it's your turn to take action. You need to subscribe now to catch every exclusive story coming your way. Don't miss out. Smash that like button now to fuel our journey together and help us climb the algorithm. and flood the comment section with your reactions and theories about what you think will happen next. Don't wait even one more second to share this thrilling conclusion with at least 5 friends who need to hear this powerful story. This is the moment to show your support. So let us embark on the next adventure together.